The first time I went to see Flicka was, well, we did not have the greatest impressions. This was literally the very first impression that we got of her, running around in the field, not even being provoked or doing anything. And a lot of people would say that it's a bad first impression, and, you know, for a lot of people, yeah, I agree. But for me, I just saw all through it, and I saw her wild and spirit, and I loved it. I know that may sound like something from a movie, but that was true. Despite our crazy first impressions, when I led her around for the first time, she just immediately calmed down and was just so willing to listen to the cues I was asking her. And here I stopped and she stopped, and I felt like we were in tune already. And, you know, I just kind of felt something just like deep in my heart, like God was telling me that this was the horse that I needed. And I think I'm really glad that I went with my gut, because, well, you'll see. When I rode her for the first time, I could tell that she just loved to move and loved to work, and that's a really good sign, because I was looking for a horse that wanted to work and put her in her best for me. And I could just immediately tell, just in my gut, that she was one of those horses, because she just wanted to go and she wanted to work, and that was a really, really nice thing for me to feel and see. She, despite being crazy in the field when we first saw her, as soon as I got on her back, she was willing to listen and ready to take my commands, and despite us not even knowing each other, I already felt like that we were partners. And so partners we became. This was the first time I rode her at home. And, you know, the same horse that we saw who was crazy in the field, and it was just gone. Ever since she came home to our place, she was so much more relaxed. She was like a completely different horse. The horse that we had nicknamed a dragon at her other owner's place was now literally the perfect horse. And I could tell that our journey together was going to be amazing, just based on how things were going in the beginning. You know, in the beginning, things were a little rough. She didn't know anything about barrel racing, pole bending, any of the Western gaming events. She didn't know anything about how to be a performance and pleasure and equitation horse, and she didn't know anything about showmanship. So we had a lot of work ahead of us to prepare for 4-H, but I was just happy that we were having a good start, and that, well, things were going good, because in the beginning, things aren't supposed to go good. They're supposed to be challenging, and they were, but I was just glad that we had a pretty good start. This was the first time I ever rode her with one of my instructors present, and my instructor, he could see what I saw. I could just tell. Like, he knew that in my gut something was telling me that this was the horse, and he trusted my intuition, and he knew I was right, despite her trotting with her head a gazillion miles in the air and her not wanting to walk for her life and breaking into a lope every single time we trotted. He knew that she had potential, and he knew that he was a good horse. We just had to put in the work and uncover the good horse that I knew she would become in my gut. And I'm glad that he saw what I saw, because that was a huge motivator for me. Now, here was our first ever gaming clinic, and in a new environment, she was back to that same horse that we saw in the field that day. And I was starting to think, well, maybe she is too much for me. It had been a couple months at this point, and I was kind of like, maybe she is too much horse for me. Maybe I can't train it out of her. But then that feeling just continued, even in this clinic when things weren't going as well. Even in this clinic, I still had that same gut feeling that I couldn't give up on her, and that I had to turn her into the horse that nobody thought she could be, because, well, if nobody else thought she could be that horse, somebody had to. And, you know, no matter what the clinic instructor told me, that, oh, she was 10, but she acted like a baby, I I wasn't going to give up on her because that same feeling was in my gut. And by the end of the clinic, she was relaxed and she was doing better, and I'm like, okay, I can do this. And no matter how hard things get, whether you're training your own horse or you have a rescue that has problems, don't give up on them. Because by the end of this clinic, progress was made despite how she was in the beginning, and that's an incredible thing. About another month went by and we were making incredible progress. The arena had dried out enough so I could start riding her at home so I could practice a lot more, and she was becoming a lot more relaxed in her trot and her lope, and I was feeling really confident for our first show. And the day of our first show came, we were doing performance and gaming and showmanship, and well, she actually really impressed me at this show, and this was kind of the first show where I realized, oh, she can do this. This was the first time where I really actually got to run any gaming events with her, and we may not have been perfect, but most of our runs were clean. The only run that wasn't clean was poles, and you know, for her being her first show and both of us still being new to this, that was really amazing for me to feel, and it was a really huge confidence booster for me, and that's when I figured out that that gaming was something that she really enjoyed, and that she wanted to do this just as much as I did, and that was a very good indicator that we were going to work out. And so it gave me a lot more confidence that no matter how hard things got, that we had to persevere, and I had to keep working with her and stay patient with her. As time went on, I was starting to see less and less of the horse that I met in the field that day, and this was our very first qualifying show, and you know, we may not have gotten any high placings and our classes may not have been perfect, but we were making progress, and that was enough for me. I was just happy that we made it through our classes without any huge issues or having her blow up and be crazy, and she was actually, you know, there was times where she actually looked like the rest of the other performance horses that have been doing this a really long time, and I was really happy that I was able to get that much out of her in such a short time. She was, you know, progressing faster than I actually thought she would, because, you know, when I first saw her, she was a crazy horse running around in the field. You know, she had a problem with leads, but that was okay because she was relaxed and she wasn't losing her head, and that was the biggest thing for me, and I'm so glad that I was just able to get her to that point. Then the next qualifying show came, and we did better this time than we did the last time. In our gaming events, we had a clean pole run for the first time, and you know, I was really happy with her, and I was just so proud of where we had come. And obviously our runs still weren't perfect, but like, why would they be? We'd only been doing this a few months, and just the progress we had already made was absolutely incredible. And you know, I'm so glad that I actually get to share this story with you guys, because I feel like it might be motivating for some people who may be struggling with a horse of their own, or have a horse that's underestimated or labeled the underdog, because so were we. And you know, we were progressing faster than my brain could fathom, and you know, we were actually starting to be successful. We were getting ribbons and starting to make a little bit of a name for ourselves in our small little 4-H community, and it was a really, really amazing thing. And you know, I don't care about the status or anything like that, or like what others think of me, but just the fact that people would actually, you know, start to have a little bit of respect for us was actually incredible. And that was a really nice thing to feel, because it in a way it kind of proved that we were making progress, even though I don't have to prove anything to anybody else. It was just a nice thing to hear and a nice thing to feel, because it felt like our hard work was, you know, actually paying off, and we weren't just doing this just to, you know, do it. We were actually, you know, someone. We were, you know, respected, and that was that was a really, really comforting thing to feel, and it was a little bit more of a motivator, even though, like I said, I could honestly care less what other people think of me, but it was still a nice thing to feel, kind of respected by my other competitors and stuff like that. So I was really happy with that, and I was really happy with her. She was getting better and better each show, and, like I said, we were just making progress that I didn't even think was possible. More progress than I could have ever asked her for. And, part of it was me, but a lot of it was her, because she wanted to learn and she wanted to get this right for me, and that was a really incredible thing. July qualifying show came around, and we were starting to run faster times, and, we struggled with a few events, but they were clean, and we were getting faster and faster, and the progress was a really nice thing to feel. We were actually doing so well together that not only did we qualify for our county fair, but we also qualified for state, and that we would be going and competing with the best riders in the state in September. And I remember hearing that we qualified and being selected for the team. I literally wanted to cry because I was just so happy. And it wasn't even the fact that, we had qualified. It was just the fact that we had made it that far to qualify. That was the biggest thing for me. And I was happy with Flicka. I was happy with just everything. And even talking about it makes me a little bit emotional because, I keep saying it, but we legitimately were underdogs. It was my first year, actually taking gaming seriously, and it was Flicka's first year actually doing anything in the gaming and in the performance and showmanship world in general, and the fact that we qualified for state was just a huge deal for me, and I was happy for us. And, my parents were probably just excited as I was, but I was happy just that we had made it that far. And that was a huge accomplishment for me. And I was going there with the horse that I had a gut feeling about, that nobody else had a gut feeling about besides my parents and my instructor, one of my instructors. And the fact that we were now going to state to compete with the biggest riders in the state was incredible. So since we had qualified for state fair, there was a lot of preparing to do. We started going to a lot more competitions and events and a lot more lessons, and I was really determined to put the work in, because just making it was amazing, but I still wanted to do well. And I remember working harder than I had ever worked in my life before, and it paid off, because we were getting faster, our runs were getting faster, and, I was still just so happy just to be here with Flicka, because she was my partner, she was my friend, she was my best friend in the whole wide world, and she got me through a lot of rough patches, and she was making my dreams come true. And the fact that I could just do this with a horse so amazing was absolutely incredible for me. And even if it was hard work, and we had to put in a lot of time and a lot of hours to prepare for state, I enjoyed every single second of it, because I was just doing something that I loved, and I was with a horse that I loved, and I was so just happy to just be there and be around, and I had made a lot of friends, and I was competing with them a lot, and it was really fun, but it was also really rewarding. Then it was time for state fair, and holy smokes, it was just one of the greatest experiences. Not only was it really fun and just kind of, a shock to be there, but we actually made our best showmanship pattern ever at state. We got a blue, and I was just ecstatic. I was shocked. I started crying as soon as I left that arena. But the fact that we went state and just made a really good runs, most of them were clean, and it was just such a huge accomplishment. And it was when I realized that all of our hard work was not only paying off, but we were going farther than I wanted to go and farther than I ever thought we could go. And it was all because, Flicka was just an incredible horse, and I stayed patient, and when I was determined, I'm just so thankful to God, to, the fact that my parents just allowed me to do this, and I went farther than I ever thought that I could go. And, even now, it's kind of crazy to think about that. 6 years ago, almost 6 years ago, I was a little girl just trotting around on an old quarter horse, and now I'm taking this horse that I pretty much trained by myself to state. After state fair ended, we continued to go to shows and do showmanship and practice, and we actually started writing English, and now that I had accomplished so much, I wanted to keep going and keep going farther. We competed in our first English show. We got a couple fourth places in our classes, and it was a really, really fun thing, and it was just fun to, kind of not have the stress anymore and just kind of take a break and do more fun things. And I practiced with friends and got to keep relationships with the friends that I made during that 4-H season, and it was awesome. And, I was still keeping her conditioned. We were still progressing. Our runs were still getting faster, but it was just a little less stress. And, it was a nice break to just focus and keep practicing and get ready for next 4-H season, even though that 4-H season had just ended. And it was fun to, just go to more relaxed shows and casual shows and just, go run and do what we do best. And Flicka loved it. I loved it. I was broadening my horizons, going to places that I'd never gone before, and it was just a tons of fun. And it was a nice little kind of break from all of the grind and stress to stress, even though I still grinded and still stressed out a little bit because I was so determined to keep getting better. But it was a nice little break because I could just have fun and just keep practicing and go to more fun shows where it was a little less stress and stuff like that. So that was really fun, and I'm glad that I was able to go to events like that over this winter. And, just kind of just take a step back before things got crazy again. Now, after a little over a year, Flicka and I are running 16s in barrels and 24s in poles, and it's been the greatest journey that I have ever experienced in my life, and I'm just so thankful to God and just for just being able to do this, and thankful to Flicka for allowing me to do this and being such an incredible horse, that she was smart and easy to teach, and that she loves this as much as I do because she's willing to work for it just as much as I am. And I'm so thankful for just everything. I'm thankful for you guys for watching this, and I hope to see you next time. It's been an incredible journey here on YouTube too, and you guys have been a part of it. I mean, you watch and you support my videos, and you leave nice comments and say nice things, and I'm close to 400 subscribers now, and I'm just so excited, and I'm so excited that I could be able to make this video so you guys could see just how far we've come and show Flicka a little bit of appreciation for being such an incredible horse. Anyway, I hope to see you guys next time. I love you guys so much. God is watching over you. He's with you when things get hard. Just hold on. It'll all be okay, and I hope to see you next time. Goodbye, and God bless. I love you all so, so, so much.